5 minutes of that game. It was get back in the shotgun, take the snap, look around and get sacked. Get up and do it again on the next play. And they just said, you know what? Let's send even more guys at the quarterback. Let's just blitz the whole team. And I'm going, how are you not finding a hot read here? I mean, it's like you said. It's one thing if it's a thing that's hurting you time and time again, but when they're doing it every time, you have to plan around it. Like at that point, you go, the hell with calling these plays. Here's what we do. When they bring it, here's where you're going. Dontre is going to run a slant every time. Find him every time, and beat him that way. I was just amazed that they kept blitzing, kept attacking, and we did nothing about it down the stretch.
It's not as if they came into the game and then were surprised by Beamer's blitzing defense. The defensive coordinator and Beamer, this is the way they do it, and this is what they've always done. And they knew, they had to know, that this was coming, that this was what they were going to do. They were going to dare Barrett to beat them throwing the ball. Every single team is going to do that from now on. Meyer said this morning at the press conference that he didn't believe they were going to see a lot of that from the season here on out because there's only one team left on the schedule that has the personnel to do that, and he referenced by saying the team that won the Big Ten last year, without saying Michigan State, that being the only team that has the personnel to do what Virginia Tech did. But I guarantee you that they're not the only team that's going to send the house after the quarterback and dare him to beat them, down the field. So
that's the recipe now.
Talking about they haven't faced a 4-3 yet. Well, you might not face another one if you don't show any better ability to beat it than what you did Saturday. So lots of ways that game could have been won, but they just didn't do it. Special teams horrific. Not only the two missed field goals, but late hits on out of bounds plays and kicking a kickoff out of bounds and giving them some field position. All kinds of things that went wrong in an area that's supposed to be the Urban Meyer specialty. Also, of course, the Frank Beamer specialty. But that's not an area where the coaching staff shined, and you can put it on individual players, but they didn't appear well drilled on special teams, and that showed up. And even late in the game, before the last two interceptions by Barrett, here's a Buckeyes team that everybody, it's always safe to say in the preview of a game that in a tight game that the team that wins the turnover battle is going to win the game. Well, here are the Buckeyes late in the fourth quarter with 3 turnovers to 1 for Virginia Tech, and you're down a touchdown still. Even with that, you had a fumble that Bosa caused, and you had a couple pickoffs, and Barrett evened things up late in the game with a couple of Hail Marys that got picked off. But it shouldn't have come to that, and why we were relying on the deep ball when it seemed like there was a lot of underneath stuff and tight ends and those kinds of things, crossing routes that could have been more effective against a 9-man front. They didn't fail; they were left untried. With the exception of the drop ball in the end zone on a slant, and then of course Thomas made a play, as you said earlier, where he caught that slant and went for 6, but. There were some drop balls, and one of Meyer's kind of explanations here was that he was disappointed in his receivers' inability to get open against one-on-one coverage. Yeah, that was apparent, and we thought we had addressed the talent issue at wide receiver. Devin Smith got open for a one-long one, but there wasn't a lot of separation there, and for that you sort of have to credit the Virginia Tech corners who played a great game. And the other thing, the counter argument to using the tight end is that when you've got 5, 6, 7 guys coming after the QB, you need to leave a tight end in to block one of them. But that still doesn't explain the complete abandoning of your passing to the tight end, which supposedly is a staple of the Urban Meyer offense.
Yeah, but see, some of that is the hubris, and some of that comes with Coach Meyer. That's what he's known for. I'm interested because you said it, and I'm going to tag on to what you said, that I don't care what he thinks he's going to face for the rest of the season. If I am any of the teams that's playing Ohio State the rest of the way, I'm changing my defense. I am scrapping my defense. I'm going to follow the formula that I just saw until you show me that your quarterback can find a hot read, that he can beat these blitzes. I'm just going to keep stacking it up, and I'm going to bring the house at you. So if he thinks that other teams are just going to start cooperating this week because, that now we got different defenses, not if I'm a good coach. If I'm going against you, I'm going, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So they have to, and you don't practice this week and just your normal game prep as if everything's the same. You've got to figure out, we need some hot reads. We need some quick plays that if they're going to stack the box, bam, we're going to do this once or twice, and that's going to back everybody off because they're going to know that if they blitz us, we're going to beat them with X, Y, Z, whatever it is. Otherwise, why would teams not just continue to do that? Because clearly Virginia Tech showed you how to beat the Buckeyes, and there's a long season to go. Doesn't mean it's all over, like you said, either, because look back a few years back. You lose one early, but then you continue to win. I mean, the season is far from over, but it's still, to me, the formula's out there now on how to beat the Buckeyes. And defensively, teams, I think, are going to do a lot more of this. They're just going to pressure JT Barrett. Like, hey, let's prove that he's, for all intents and purposes, a rookie.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's sort of half in jest. Last week we were talking about, well, this is the last triple option team you'll face, unless the coaches the rest of the schedule watch the Navy game film, in which case it won't be the last triple option team they face.
I mean, but Brewer looked good too. He made good reads. Yeah, he threw a couple of picks, like you said, but he did a good job of taking what the defense was giving him there, and they didn't have much rushing to go for, to speak of. You brought up the Buckeyes. I think Elliott was the leading non-quarterback rusher for the Buckeyes with like 30 yards or something. But I think the leading rusher for Virginia Tech had less than 40. So they didn't have a whole lot of
they didn't. The Hokies didn't exactly, rush up and down the field. I tell you what they did is, like I said earlier, they made third down conversion. Some of them were just backbreakers on 3rd and 16, 3rd and 17 from their own 4-yard line, that kind of stuff. Picking up those first downs is kind of inexcusable to let that happen. And the vaunted Buckeye pass rush, the vaunted Buckeye defensive line,
they weren't getting there.
Didn't have their best game of the year, obviously, game 2, but they didn't perform up to the press clippings, I don't think, in getting after the passer, especially on third downs. Brewer, to his great credit, I mean, he had a real nice game, threw the ball accurately, and his receivers made some great catches. I don't think any catch was quite as good as the one that Dr. Wilson made down the field, though, on that one-handed, over-the-top somersault kind of catch. That was just utterly spectacular, but it was... just a big disappointment in a big situation, big recruiting weekend, LeBron on the sidelines and record crowd and all that stuff. And it was a spectacle just being there to be part of it. But when the band show at halftime is the highlight of the night, it hasn't been a good day.
Yeah, it's the curse of LeBron, man. Kyrie gets hurt at the Olympic thing. Next thing you know, Buckeyes go down. What's next? Kevin Love's going to actually try to play defense, and he's going to blow out his ACL because it's the first time he ever tried. And he goes, that's what I get. See, there was a reason I did it my way in Minnesota. Come here, you guys try to get me to do this defense thing. And next thing you know, it'll be LeBron and Andy like it's 2007 all over again, man. And then, anyways, I'm just kidding. I was joking, though, with friends about that. I said it's the curse of LeBron, man. He's on the sidelines, and look at what happened, man. But no, it's just, you're right, a bad opportunity there, and again, a disappointment. The entire Big Ten. Look at that, Michigan State. I mean, obviously they had a tough opponent there. You knew that was going to be a battle there. Oregon stormed back on them. Michigan just getting bombed by Notre Dame. They're wiped out. A tough one. Yeah, for the marquee
I haven't had a chance to see any of that, and of course, being at the game, all the good games. I was able to watch a little bit of Stanford, Oregon. Or Stanford USC, I should say, at Eddie George's Grill pregame. But the rest of the game, the Michigan game, Michigan State game, haven't had a chance to see any of that. But anybody, you're kidding yourself if you think that the Big Ten, as of September 6th, now has any shot at getting into the 4-game playoffs.
No way.
It's just not happening. There's no team in the Big Ten right now that can make that foursome. It's too bad that it's already over on September 6th, but if you're at all realistic, you have to realize that it is over. it was a horrible weekend for the Big Ten, and even Nebraska, getting by McNeese State by a touchdown.
How about that one? Abdullah with that play.
Northwestern getting beat by a MAC team. Just
that catch and run at the end of the game, man. That was a good play to save it. But you're right, to even be at that point with McNeese State was no good. But that was most definitely a nice play.
Even Iowa, who scored 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes. To squeeze out a win over Ball State. That game I was watching at Eddie George's, and that was a miracle that they managed to squeeze one out over another MAC team. Northwestern loses to the MAC. Northern, obviously a good program, but still, that was weak, and the whole Big Ten just looked miserable. So it's a little bit of disarray right now in the Big Ten, and these 3 games on Saturday were supposed to be the barometer by which we could measure where the Big Ten was, and unfortunately we found out that not elite is where this conference is right now.
Absolutely not. Buckeyes go down to Virginia Tech 35-21. They've got Kent State on the horizon, and then Cincinnati, which you and I already kind of mentioned last week when I said Virginia Tech to me was the first true upset potential game of the season when we were talking about that last week, and you said you thought even more Cincinnati. Well, that game's still on the schedule, and it's coming up soon enough. So that could be another one of those losses that people maybe don't see coming. Or maybe Ohio State learns from this, as we said, galvanizes themselves, and, we're sitting back later in the season looking back and going, if only they hadn't looked past. I don't see that. But, you never know. Kent State coming up next, and you and I can talk more as we go forward here throughout the week and look ahead to next weekend as we talk Buckeyes here. A whole lot of stuff going on. And you know what I thought about you, too, by the way? I was telling some people I was watching the game with, I said, yeah, man, my friend's down there at the game right now. Guy that talks Buckeyes with me on the show, 107,000 or whatever. And, then the game ended, and I'm going, man, that's a long ride back up north for Dan Wismar. Man, that's a lonely car ride there after you go, well, that just didn't work out so well, man, and a lot of the way you probably felt at halftime. Of course,
it was with all those incompletions and everything, it was a long football game. I don't know exactly what time that game finished, but it had to be close to midnight.
It was.
Before it was over, close to a 4-hour game, and then, fighting your way out of there.
I thought about that, too. What that traffic's got to be like.
I was pulling into the house at about 2:30 in the morning, so
I thought about the traffic, Dan.
For a long day.
My buddy goes, when I told him you were there, he goes, could you imagine? I said, I know. I mean, Brown Stadium is bad enough when you got 60,000 coming out. Double that, and that's how many people are coming out of Buckeye Stadium, pretty much, and loading up for that one. I'm going, man, Dan's spending 2 hours in traffic right now. That's the worst, when you're stuck in traffic and you didn't win the game. So, you're not sitting there beeping the horn and everybody's yelling at each other and going, yay, great game. You're sitting there man, I don't want to be stuck in this damn traffic. Should have never came out to this game tonight, man. Come on.
Right. The only thing worse than that, if I had my face painted scarlet and gray, and if I was hungover, but neither of those things were happening for me, so it was all right. And to be honest, the traffic getting out of Columbus wasn't bad at all. But
you just
back in time to get a good night's sleep and wake up and watch my Brownies.
You just put putty in my head. I'm a big Seinfeld fan. As soon as you said that, I saw you. I don't know if you're a Seinfeld guy, but putty with the face painting. Got to support the team. Got to support the team, baby.
That's right.
Well, could you please not paint your face? But I got to support the team anyway. So you come back. So you're down to Columbus in the middle of that team of destiny, baby, sweeping the weekend. They brought their broom out for you, took care of business. Now they've put it back on the shelf here, but they took care of business with the White Sox this weekend. I don't know how much Indians you got to catch as they're playing right now. Matter of fact, I saw Brantley has now extended that hitting streak to 12 games with his hit here in this one, but we are at the top of the fifth. It looks like the Angels are threatening here. Looks like there may be some runners on. I have to get an update on this. Still no score in the top of the fifth is what I've got. But what did you see of the Indians this weekend? Anything?
Oh, I followed it all the way. I'm always on top of the Indians game, and no matter where I happen to be. But we just continue to get spectacular pitching, and it was, offense is still the offense, but when Chicago goes and scores 2 runs in a 3-game series, you got a pretty good shot. Carrasco continues to amaze.